Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. Two horror movies with tons of hype created by the YouTubers Daniel and Michael Phillippou. Whether you loved these movies, thought they were overrated, or maybe sit somewhere in the middle, I still think these are interesting pieces of horror that I want to talk about. So, what do they have in common, and which one is better? Let's go. What stands out the most to me with these movies is the pacing. These are fast, almost feverish experiences, and yet I wouldn't drag them to the level of TikTok brain rot or the Minecraft movie or any other equivalent of jingling keys in front of faces. It's not that there's a ton of cuts that don't make sense, it's that there's just a lot packed into pretty short scenes. The plots escalate very quickly. Just as we're getting our bearings on the characters, things become disturbing or violent without much time to breathe. For example, my favorite scene in Talk to Me is the montage sequence where everyone gets possessed over and over, which to me was a clear parallel to drug abuse or underage drinking. The editing bounces along perfectly to the song, and the shots are dynamic enough to keep the party atmosphere alive. I love this scene, not only because it's entertaining, but for me at least, is the exact midpoint between fun and scary. It's awful what's happening, but I'm enjoying myself so much. Back to the point, just as the dust settles on this scene, the protagonist very irresponsibly allows the young boy to take part, and he horrifically injures himself. I'll get to the actual horror stuff later in the video, but this is what I mean by escalation. The possession scenes went from frightening early on, then almost playful in the montage, then gut-wrenching, and we're still in the first act. Same goes for Bring Her Back. Not only does the movie get real gory real fast, but the way character interactions are set up and then change is almost overwhelming. We don't have much time with these siblings dealing with their grief before they are thrust upon Laura, their now foster mother, and immediately she comes across as over-anxious and inappropriate. And of course, let's mention the mute child who looks like he eats spiders until you realize that's what you wished he would eat. Again, we can't get our bearings. We're chasing the plot like a dog runs after cars. And generally speaking, I like this. It matches the youthful age of most of the characters, and it's nice to see a film capture a sense of modern Gen Z energy without coming across as trying too hard, editing too much, or having too much Jared Leto. And I'm sure the Phillippou brothers' YouTube background influenced the pacing and vibe to these movies. Saying that, I do think Talk to Me is paced better. Both are fast, but Bring Her Back in places feels a little rushed, and I don't think it's the editing but the script that's the cause. Talk to Me is fairly simple. The concept of social possession is introduced, it goes too far, and it needs to be reversed. Obviously there's more going on thematically, but that's the general blueprint. Bring Her Back has a story of possession, but there's also time devoted to a cult-like organization, I think, that teaches about these possessions, and the fact I'm having trouble describing it is because it's still a little unclear. There's so much more going on in terms of character dynamics, and there are great moments of psychological warfare by the foster mother. The thing is that it ramps up so rapidly that I had trouble deciphering the actual time frame of what was happening. Now, I definitely don't want any exposition dumps, like, God no. If any genre suffers the most from exposition, it's horror. But Talk to Me's pace suited the plot about teens and possession as a drug. And while I don't want some dragged out Bring Her Back, an extra, 5 or so minutes just to slow things down, I think would have benefited a story with so much character work. I don't know, just a thought. Both of these movies delve into trauma. Talk to Me's Mia is so desperate to connect with her dead mother that she's willing to put people in danger. Andy from Bring Her Back struggles with the loss of his father and the internal conflict of grieving over someone who, let's just say, wasn't the nicest dad on the block. And when dealing with the drama of trauma, you need strong performances, and thankfully, we're in good hands. Sophie Wilde is exceptional in Talk to Me, capturing all the characters' desires and disorientation, as well as transforming into a gleeful evil during those possession sequences. Plus, she's just like an interesting person to watch. Anyone with large, expressive eyes has a leg up in film as far as I'm concerned. Everyone in the movie holds their own, but Wilde is definitely the standout. And yet, I think Bring Her Back upped the ante. Sora Wong seems very natural in her role, believably naive and delicate. And this was her first role. Billy Barrett is fantastic, disappearing into this haunted young man who must bypass his own issues to care for his sister. I bought every moment of his fear and despair, and he's really the glue that holds the movie together. Sally Hawkins, as expected, is great, but what surprised me is how unhinged her performance is, in the best sort of way. Her performance teeters on over the top, but doesn't get there, and we get a sense that the character is one wrong move, one failed step away from complete hysteria. Thematically, you could tie these two movies together with plenty of words: trauma, as I mentioned, family, addiction, but the most interesting to me is manipulation. Mia yearns for her mother and is manipulated by spirits to try and meet her once more. Laura manipulates both children as a way to separate them and then prey on one of them. Both as victims and perpetrators, all the actors do a great job. And I know that some people are sick and tired of trauma horror or grief horror, but trust me when I say that Talk to Me and Bring Her Back are worth watching. And if for nothing else, it's for these performances. This is gloves off acting, and I love it. And out of the two, Bring Her Back brings the most heat.
Oh, is she here?
No, she's passed.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right, you didn't know. It's not your fault.
How'd she die?
Piper.
She's okay. She's drowned.
I'll be honest, I did think both these movies were scary. Not terrifying, not on the level of Shudder or Martyrs or finding out your spouse invested in meme coins, but scary nonetheless, and scary in different ways. But let's talk one consistency, and that's both Bring Her Back and Talk to Me have a scene of self-harm that made me cover my mouth and go, Jesus Christ, and curl my fingers because it hurt to watch in such a deeply visceral way. But if I had to choose between these two scenes, I think Bring Her Back did a better job. Not only for its originality, who eats a knife, honestly, but because if there is one thing that bothered me about the violence in Talk to Me, it's that people take way too long to actually stop it. I mean, this movie has great editing, so what the hell happened here? Talk to Me scared me in a lot of different ways. The montage creeped me out because I was so torn on how to feel. The intro is a gut punch, the possessions are suspenseful, and the part that really got me was when Mia enters a form of limbo, and it's so invasive and claustrophobic that I almost felt violated watching it. It made me think of my own fears, of being trapped, of eternal suffering. And I have to mention the sound design, which is an undervalued attribute in horror that Talk to Me took full advantage of. The various hits and crashes and ambient noise all sound competent, but it's this use of gurgling water effects that make the film stand out. Every time they're used, they give the impression of drowning. When you think horror sounds, you think knives and high-pitched violins, but this made me feel something different. Bring Her Back is a delightfully horrific viewing experience, both psychologically and in sheer brutality. I did not expect a movie that centers so much on grief to be this fucking violent, but man oh man, Bring Her Back did not hold anything back. Self-mutilation, gory rituals, and a single punch that may have been the hardest thing of all to watch because it was so precise, planned, unjustified, and realistic. While I did criticize Bring Her Back's pacing for being too fast, it does in a weird way lend itself to the horror. I felt as unaware and vulnerable as the characters. Oh, and just quick side note, the intro to Bring Her Back is straight up upsetting, and a clear sign that the movie is not fucking around. Grief and gore. I think the combination works. Not every movie about grief needs to be a stale slog. And this preconception of how certain stories should feel is something I'd like filmmakers to maybe get away from a little bit. A comedy about a guy in a wheelchair can actually be really funny. A 3-hour biopic can feel like a thriller. And a movie about grief and manipulation can be as gory as a sorority when everyone starts syncing up. I apologize for that. So to get to the point, both movies offered unexpected and well-executed horror moments, even if they didn't quite rise to pure nightmare fuel. In this category, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other, just different strokes of blood. finish up, both Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, while having some issues here and there, are fresh horror experiences with plenty to offer. However, for its ambition, its emotional impact, impressive makeup, and stellar performances, I consider Bring Her Back to be the better film overall. It's great to see this creative team refine their craft and yet still offer that energy and relentlessness that binds these two movies. We should always strive for our next project to be better than the last. And on that note, I cannot wait for their next movie. So far for 2025 horror, it's looking pretty good. So which movie did you like more? Did you like neither? Let me know in the comments. Check out the playlist here for more horror videos and click the Patreon link below to support the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.